my task now, it's a bit like squaring the circle, because I need to give you a brief overview on our project, but also give you a kind of training session on how to design a switch campaign. So you need this input for the afternoon workshop. So you will see I give you some methodological idea of the switch campaign, but also some examples from our existing campaigns, some lessons learned, because we had a workshop on Tuesday and we had some new findings on this campaign on this day, so some very brand new information. As Regine Gericke already told you, the objective of a switch campaign is very easy. It's to replace short car trips by walking and cycling trips. And in consequence of this, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and primary energy consumptions. Regine told you quite a lot of the 4 components of switch, so I go brief through it. So the life-changing moment, the personalized approach, the ICT component, and the combination of arguments from travel planning, travel behavior influencing, and public health. So to bring together this more common level to the very individual benefit of participants of campaigns. So, and then I just start directly with the campaign. So in the campaign preparation period, if you try to design your campaign, please first make sure what are the objectives of your campaign, what is your target group, and later on I give you some examples of our target group in our campaigns, and decide of the size of your campaign. So what is your sample size? How many people do you want to reach? For example, in Switch we have the target to have really large scale campaigns, so we are addressing between 2,000 and 3,000 people. In the cities we want to have 1,000 or 1,500 participants, so you need to know what is your gross and what is your final sample then. It is very important, we learned during preparing our campaign, to start very early with strategic partnerships with other stakeholders who can support you. For example, we came from the more or less transport research and travel mobility management side, and we really needed the input from the public health sector. Made some good partnerships in Vienna, for example, with stakeholders from public health. Then develop your roadmap, and I come through it a bit later on. Collect information, because you need to screen what is available for your campaign, what information can you give to the people. And this is what another interaction with the stakeholders you need to involve in your campaign. What can they offer you for information material, for incentives? How can they support your campaign? Another crucial issue is the stuff you need. So are you able to do it on your own? Do you need a subcontract? So we have different types in our project, and I think some cities can give you some advice when it is easier to have a subcontract to employ consultants for certain issues, and some of them are doing the whole campaign on their own with all steps. So there are some crucial things you need to plan before you start designing your campaign. Especially the staff is a very crucial point, because one of the main focus of our campaign is this personalized effect. So you must be aware that there will be some interaction between your staff and the participants of your campaign. So the staff need to be really highly motivated and well informed on the targets, on the objectives of your campaign. Then you made some decisions on the infrastructure you need and on the media work later on during your campaign and before your campaign. So I come back to the Switch target groups. Now I come to our project again. We have the 5 cities, and we have a huge range of different target group in the cities. Our champion is Donestier San Sebastian. They decided to have almost all target groups. So they have the people recently moved. We're doing the same in Vienna as well. Then they also have the parents and pupils starting a new school year, and like London Borough of Hounslow is doing, and Gdansk. And they also want to address students starting university. It's a bit like we also are doing in Vienna, but we have only a very small sample on this. Then we have the employees and students. Now they are only employees affected by major road construction work in Antwerp. That sounds a bit strange, but if you know the plans of Antwerp to reconstructing the whole inner city center, then you understand the issue of this target group. We have the person that received medical advice, a quite crucial group. So these are people who received the advice by a doctor to behave more physically active. So we have these groups in San Sebastian and in Vienna. Now we come to the personalized approach of Switch. So Switch combines the personal travel planning approach with health messages and ICT applications. And I like to go step by step to the different stages of the campaign now with you and try to give you a slight idea of how we integrated what kind of message in what stage of the campaign. So we have the sampling. We choose our target group, and we need to figure out how can we get contact data, what kind of contact data can we get. So, for example, San Sebastian is very lucky. They got some census data for people settled to their city. In quite a lot of other cities, you will have the problem with data protection issues. So you won't get any direct contact data. For example, in Vienna, we depend on a more passive approach that we need to attract people, and they need to come to us and to give us their contact data. Yeah, because this kind of contact data highly define the contact channels you can use to communicate with the people. Do you have any telephone numbers? Can you call them? Do you have personalized address so that you can send them a letter and say, hey, Mr. XY, do you want to take part in our campaign? Or is it more a more general announcement of your campaign? And then you need to think, how can you get in touch with the people depending on this contact data and or to the household. So in Vienna, as an example, we are using these postcards. So for those people from which we don't have any detailed contact data, for example, for the people receiving medical advice, we went to certain events, talked to the people there, gave them this postcard, and on the back side, they are able to insert their contact data, and it's a free card, so they can send it free back to us. We offer them certain possibilities for registration, like sending us the telephone numbers, the address, but also to register online on our platform. And what we also did is that we write integrated health arguments in the announcement period. So to make this campaign more interesting for the people, we have here some sayings like, switch is your chance for more well-being. So we already integrated these health arguments in the very early stage. The next step is the segmentation. This is something you don't really realize. You know, you decide what people you want to include in your campaign. Do they want some information? Do they want to take part in the campaign? Maybe you will meet some people, they are all already perfect. They're kind of champions in active travel behavior. For example, Antwerp has some good example with involving these kind of champions in their campaign, convincing other people to change behavior. And it might be a good idea to reward these champions for their good behavior so that everyone else can see that they are some champions. Or for example, we are in Vienna, we are working with complete houses. And then if you have the champions and they were carrying visible incentive, and then the rest of the house knows that they are champions already and they took part in the campaign, that might have a positive influence on participation for the others. And you will find some people you would exclude from the campaign because they addicted car drivers and you won't get them out of their cars, so don't spend too much efforts on them. You can exclude them. And then again, you try to motivate them. You have the people who are interested in your campaign, who want to order information material, and then you send them a kind of service sheet. So here again, the example of Vienna. It looks like this, but I put it on the slide as well. So distribute a service sheet, ask them very personal what kind of information they need. So we have different information on this service sheet, like something is more addressed to older people, then something is addressed to people with children, maybe then there are some sportive people, they need to have some other information. And we also, there's the sheet, so it's in German, but we put some pictures on for the that you have a first image on what kind of information it is. And I brought some of them, or Mylene brought some of them, it was not me. And here again, you use the health arguments to convince the people, to show them their individual benefit when they are taking part in the campaign. You offer also health information on this sheet. For example, we have something about the health benefits of cycling for elderly people, or more of walking as well. So, and we also offer the ICT tool. So the third point of our switch components. So we are offering certain apps. Other cities are offering kind of a bit of street gaming. Chris is going to present it to you later on. So there's a quite huge variation of ICT tools to motivate people to change behavior, to track their behavior, to take part in games and competitions and so on. So last but not least, now the people selected the information they want to have. You put also some incentives in the service sheet, for example, so that they can select from a variety of 3 or 4 incentives, the one they most appreciate, and then you promise them to give it to them in a very personalized way. So you put all the information the people want to have, like this, in a very nice and lovely bag with your logos and so on. And then the best idea is to bring it to them home personally, knock at their door, say, hello, here are your incentives, here are your information you ordered. Do you have, at this moment, any question I can answer to you? And this is the moment why it is so important to train your staff, because if the people have any question, the staff should be able to answer them and to give further incentive on like information and motivation to them to change behavior. And you also offered some personal travel planning talks in the service sheet. So if there's someone who really want to have a personalized information, like what kind of trips in my everyday life I can switch to active travel and how can I integrate it in my very individual everyday life, then you make an appointment with them. And here again, this stuff is very important. You meet with the people and work directly on their own topics. And here again, the ICT tools have a certain role with gamification, competitions, and so on. They can test the new behavior using their ICT tools. You can offer additional side events like bike repairing workshops and so on, or you can offer bike trials or something like this. So participants have the time to test the new behavior for a while. So again, you can also integrate the health arguments in the ICT tools, like step counters, calories, the share of physical activity recommended, reached by the activities, offer again health informations, and also integrate these health informations in the PTP talks. Again, the importance of the staff training. So finally, as Regina said in the introduction, we have 5 very good local campaigns. They are very different to each other, but they have really strong common components inside. So they're really matching the target group component, the personalized approach, the ICTs. Every campaign is a bit different from the others, but with this common core. And now we come to the success. So, because the campaign cost time, energy, money, staff, and so on. And actually, we should measure the success. So for the switch project, we have to fill the IAE Common Performance Indicators, which is the latest of primary energy savings per year and the tons of greenhouse gas CO2 reductions per year. And we need information on the numbers of trips reduced for that and the distance of these reduced trips to calculate these indicators. And by this, we come to a very important issue of the campaign, the evaluation. And we learned that it is a good idea to plan the evaluation directly with preparing and designing your campaign, because it's really needed to integrate this evaluation in the campaign. So if you have the first contact with the people, right, ask them, how do you behave now? How often do you use the different types of modes in your everyday life? How far are your trips, for example? Something like this. Then you give them the information, let them test their new behavior, and after a certain time, you call or write them again. Ask them to fill in your online survey, depending what you are using. Ask the same questions again and some other, and then you're calculating the change in trips, mode choice, trip distances. And so the first step is you're doing the first after survey about 3 or 4 weeks after your campaign finished. And then if you want to learn something about the longer term effect, you do another survey after about 5 months. Make sure that this after survey is a bit in the same weather or season as the first one was, so that you or that you have some comparable data, control data, that you can minimize the seasonal effects on this. And it might be a good idea to also to review the process. And finally, you do the total qualitative and quantitative evaluation. So in our switch project, for quantitative measurement, we gather data for calculating the numbers and distances of car trips. We also wanted to learn something about the physical activity level, and we wanted to learn something about the mindset changes during the campaign. So we have these 3 surveys I showed you on the slide before. So the baseline survey, the pre-engagement survey at the very beginning, the first after survey right after the campaign, and to learn something about the long-term effects, a second one after 5 to 6 months. In Switch, we use a common core questionnaire, so that we have comparable data later on travel behavior, health and physical activities, perception of campaign, stages of behavioral change, mindsets, and so on. We use harmonized code plans for that, so that we have the data comparable inside our project. But each city is using different survey methods. So some of them are working with paper and pencil, some have telephone interviews, some have web surveys, and so on. This is, for example, the web survey we are using in Vienna, only as an image. Qualitative evaluation is very important to learn to reflect your campaign process, to identify the barriers and drivers, to learn something about your campaign and some factors of success you can implement in your next campaign, and maybe it might be a good idea to make some adaptations during the campaign process to increase the success. In the Switch project, we are working with process evaluation diaries for campaign implementers and for stakeholders. And finally, at the end of the campaign, we're working with focus group to learn how the participants of the campaign perceived the campaign themselves. And finally, the total impact evaluation puts together everything: costs, energy savings, greenhouse gas emission savings. So at the end is a multi-criteria assessment of the costs and benefits of the campaign. So our idea of the output, that what we planned in our Switch campaigns, is to have participation rates between 35 to 60%. So we hope that altogether our Switch campaign have 6.6 thousand participants. And we expect that 50% of these people participating in the campaign adapt their travel behavior. They are reducing the car trips by 10%. They're replacing them by active mode, working and cycling, or combining these active modes with public transport. So we don't really want to support mode choice to public transport, but knowing that they're quite long trips, so the combination of active travel and public transport is fine. And we want the participants to learn that they are better informed on active travel afterwards. And finally, and this is, I think, my last sentence, we hope of your great support. We hope that you multiply our campaign by your own campaigns. And we have the factors of success we learned on Tuesday evening when we discussed our campaigns, so very brand new information. So we really find out that the cooperation with the strategic partners from public health and transport is very, very important, very crucial for the campaigns. And we also learned that we need quite a large number of incentives to keep the people in the campaign, to make them maintain in the campaign until the last survey. That we really need arguments to prove the individual benefits and motivating elements to test new behavior. And we need to give the participants the feeling that we give something to them and that they don't need to come to us and ask us something. So that we are the providers, and very crucial is the personal contact. Thank you very much.